Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, it's an excited time. Football season is here, 2023, ready to go. It's been a short time, but I also feel like it's been a long time since December, since we got hired and put together our staff and tried to build this roster out with a lot of great players and a lot of great people, quite honestly. And our guys have had a really good summer, working hard with Coach Nico and his staff. And now the time is, to bring it all together. I think that's what August is going to be all about. We got to find roles for all our guys. We got to put them in the right positions to be able to help our team. And, we do have a lot of new guys. This summer we've added new guys and, excited about what roles they may have with our team and helping us as we move forward into this Big 12 conference. And we got a lot of work we have to do, over the next month, before we start playing a game on September 2nd. Short period of time, but a lot of work to get done. So we're excited about it, and it all starts tomorrow with our first practice.
Questions for Coach?
You talked in Dallas about maybe a luxury is nobody knows a whole lot about you. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Well, new staff, number one. I mean, obviously, guys will go back and kind of see what we've done in the past, in really all three phases. But it's we got a lot of new players too. As we talked about in Dallas about, we got one returning starter on offense. So a lot of new faces, particularly on that side of the ball. And defensively, we got some guys back on defense that are really good players, solid players. But also some guys that are new to some positions that they're playing. But scheme-wise, obviously, it's going to be different than what teams have saw what Cincinnati's done in the past. So that part's going to be different for everybody. But I do think, it's the same for the four teams that are coming in. And so it's kind of going to be some learning, I think, for everybody to figure out what we do and what they do in the Big 12 and. What style of football has success, and so that'll be interesting as we start the season.
What's the biggest challenge when you're trying to put together all these different pieces that haven't played together before?
Well, because I think you want everybody to play as one, and so now you got a bunch of different individuals that's coming together. And you can look at it from each position breakdown. Like an offensive line, you got 5 guys. Well, certainly those 5 have to play as one. They all have to be on the same page. They have to, go block the guy they got to block on this particular play. Now you look at the wide receivers; they're all new. We got to find out what position we want to put these guys in. Number one, then they got to learn what to do in that position. So. That's kind of what we've been trying to do this summer, trying to figure out that piece of it. And then also, scheme-wise, what's going to give us the best chance to be able to move the ball. I always think players over plays, so what players are, what can they do, inside or outside, depending on matchups. And then, what's going to be our identity of the team offensively. And the same thing goes for defense. Like one guy may be a great pass rusher, but he doesn't cover as well. So that's what we got to get him to do, rush the passer. So that's just one example. So those are the things that we're really going to have to figure out. The earlier the better these first couple of weeks. I think they're going to be critical. Also the thing we just talked about this morning staff meeting was, we got some starters. We got some guys like Briggs, Corleone, just some guys that have played a lot of ball. We don't need to see as much of them throughout camp. We obviously, they got to get their reps and all that, but we don't need to see as much. We got to get the next guys ready. We got to get the 2s, the 3s, the guys that are going to play, and maybe not as much, but they're going to play. How good can we get them? That's going to be the difference, in my opinion. I think our starters will be fine. I think they'll be able to compete in the Big 12. But where's the next group, the 2s, the 3s? How are they going to be able to compete? How much of a drop-off or fall-off is it going to be? If we can make that where it's not much of a drop-off, obviously we're going to be a better football team. As a coach sitting here today, that's my probably biggest fear is, all right, what's the big drop-off there in the next group, the 2s, the 3s at every position. I think the best teams that we see at the end of the season, the teams that win 10, 11 games, 12 games are the teams that really have significant amount of depth, because we all know there's going to be guys that are going to have to play that maybe shouldn't be playing as much, but they're going to have to play. So how good can we get those guys?
When you're putting together together player-driven schemes, how much is that already, you figured that out versus how much do you have to figure it out at higher ground?
Well, I mean, I think you have an idea, but sometimes that may change a little bit once you get into adverse situations. I think obviously when things are good, when there's nobody rushing or nobody covering this guy, he's just running around on air, he can look pretty good. All right, now put somebody in front of him. And now can he maneuver that same route? Can he catch the ball when a guy's on his back? I think those are the things we're really going to have to watch and see out at higher ground. I mean, those things we don't know yet from our guys out wide.
Chad and Ryan.
There tends to be a perception that unknown equals bad. That's not necessarily the case here. We just don't know. Is there a way for you to use that to your advantage as you go into the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, if we're sitting here as coaches, we don't really know what some of these guys can do. Certainly the opponents don't know what they can do, right? I mean, so those things we can figure out out of higher ground for a couple of weeks, and then when we have our scrimmage, we'll probably answer some of those questions. And then, I think, but as the days go by and the weeks go by, there's guys that are going to continue to get better and better and better, and we've seen that this summer, guys where we started the summer and where they are right now. So I do think we'll be able to see that throughout camp, and again, find out what they can do really well, and that's what we're going to ask them to do. That's basically common sense, right? But that's what we have to do, the big thing is, when you look at offensively, all right, when it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, like whose number are we going to dial up? Like who's going to be that guy? Where we all feel good about it. Hey, we know the ball's going to get in this hands right here. He can make that play to get that first down. Right now, I can't answer that question because I don't know. Those are the things we're going to have to figure out over the next 2 weeks.
Running back seems to be a room that's a strength heading into this season. Is that something you'll rely on early in the season as you continue to implement different schemes?
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly going to use the running back room. I think, that is the one position where we got a lot of those guys that were on the team last year that are back. I think we want to get a lot of production out of that room. I do think it'll be several guys, not just one. I do think, it's going to be a by committee approach, really. And unless one or two guys really just stand out over the next couple of weeks. But I think that group works hard. I think we've had some injuries in there. You think about last year, and I also think the time we've been here, we've had some guys dinged up and not being able to go all the time. So that'll play into it as well. But we got some good talent in that room. I think Corey Connor's a guy who's been as consistent as anybody. In his time when he was at LSU, and he showed some flashes here last year as well. And I think he could be a guy could be really good back for us. But there's several guys, in that room. So that room's going to have a lot of competition. I'm looking forward to seeing which guys really shine when we start scrimmaging, when we start getting situational football. Like who's really going to make those plays when we have to get those grind out those first downs, make a guy miss, and get an extra 2 or 3 yards to get that first down. I'm really looking forward to that.
Justin, then Dan, then Scott.
Coach, curious what you think about higher ground. Have you ever done anything like that? Have you had a chance to go out there and see it at all yet?
Yeah, I went out in the spring. Got a chance to see it. I'm trying to think. Not really. I've never done it. Maybe when I was in high school, I remember we used to go and we slept in the gym. The coaches just kept you all there for a week or whatever. But it's a very unique situation. I've heard of it over the years. NFL teams doing it. I've really never heard of a college team doing that, and really now a lot of NFL teams don't do it now too. So I think it's very unique. It's going to be an awesome team building opportunity, and everything that I've heard from guys, the players that have done it. Wid, that's his baby. He's told us all the history about it and all that. The fact when he says, we went to one bowl game prior to going to higher ground and going to 18 or 9, whatever it is at this point. And this is the 25th year. Like this is the silver anniversary of Camp Higher Ground. So then we're getting T-shirts made up. But it's it's a special thing. It's I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be hard. It's you're not sleeping in your own bed. You're away. But there's no distractions. Like that's the beauty of it. And the guys really, you have to, not only you're playing football with the guys, but you're doing everything else with the guys. So, it just becomes that camaraderie, that chemistry, I think, is so important. You get to learn a little bit more about each other, not just the football side, but the other stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's a special thing. It really is.
The defensive line, I don't know if that's on or not. Defensive line certainly appears to be a strength. If you could pick one position group to build around, would you start with the D-line?
It'd be hard pressed not to start with the D line. You know, it's number one, you got to be able to stop people, right? Whoever you're playing. And number two, I think it's always more difficult to find really good big guys that can move. And we certainly have some really good big guys that can move. We also have experience there. And that's one thing that, you know, you really can't coach that. You either have or you don't. We have that experience, you know, and we also have some leaders in that group. And like, I would be hard pressed to think of another position group that has that kind of leadership on our team. And you know, they do it in the right way. They work hard. They're all about the team. And there's some good individual players there, but they speak about their teammates. And I, you know, that's refreshing to be around that as a coach. And so I'm excited about that group that we have on the D-line. And the two positions that I think that teams are built around are the offensive line and defensive line. And we certainly have a good group on the defensive line. I think that will help our O-line competing against them every single day because we are a bunch of new guys on our offensive line. It'll just make us better. And, you know, but I love being around those guys and watching those D-line guys work.
You have a lot of wide receivers with Division I experience. None of it here. How do you see that playing out? Is that going to be fun watching the competition, and where does Evan Prater fit and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about that group. You know, Coach Glenn will be here in a minute, and he'll talk a little bit about it. For a receiver room, it's the most unselfish receiver room maybe I've been a part of. These guys are very coachable, get players that are in there. You mentioned, I mean, these guys, they've produced a lot in their career, just haven't been here. And so they know what it takes to go out there and make plays in the receiver. You know, now it's our job to figure out, you know, where we're going to put these guys and what roles are we going to put them in. You know, I feel really good about that group. I'm excited about that group. We got length. We have size, strength. We have some smaller little slot type bodies that we're going to be able to utilize. We got guys that can throw the ball. You know, Braden Smith has thrown, I think, maybe 4 touchdown passes in his career. You know, now Prater's out there who's got a very unique skill set, who has size, speed, athleticism. You know, he can do a lot of different things. We're excited about being able to, you know, it's kind of like that new toy at Christmas you got. You can do a lot of things with that toy. You know, you can play. You're excited about. We're excited about what Evan Prater can do. He's looked really good. You know, so you know, we'll see how that all pans out. But you know, I think it's a group that nobody knows about this group, like at all, really, and because they're all new. But they worked hard. I think they'll be able to make a lot of big plays for us as we move forward in this league.
Keegan, then Chad, then Marshall.
What's the most important thing maybe that you look for in a quarterback at camp? Is it chemistry of receivers, keeping the ball out of harm's way, accuracy, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, well, and just in general, not necessarily in camp, but in general, you want guys that are great decision makers. You know, because in what we're doing in our offense, you know, most plays they can hand the ball off, they can take off running, or they can throw it. Most plays, and so, but they got to make that decision in a you know, fraction of a second. You know, and you know, so I love that. We got to be able to make great decisions. They have to be able to take care of the football. They have to, and we have to be able to take care of the football. To me, that's the most important thing that they have to do is take care of the football. And then, you know, I want those guys that have that just competitive fight that are, you know, that are going to lead that offense to get first downs and touchdowns. You know, the great offenses I've been around, those quarterbacks have had that attribute. You know, and then you got to be accurate, obviously, when you throw the football. You know, but I think the decision making is one of the most important aspects of the quarterback position in this day and age. Not anymore where you're under center just getting a snap and handing the ball off. Like, that's just not what we do anymore. So being able to make the proper decisions and plays, and you know, that's what we're going to be looking for out of those guys. And then, you know, obviously when you come to the skill of actually playing quarterback, I think accuracy is probably the most important thing that a quarterback can have. to be able to throw it, on a left shoulder, right shoulder. Having that accuracy there is huge.
You've been here 9 months or whatever it is now. How much of an asset have Kerry and Walt been in helping with just the adjustment
Yeah.
and becoming familiar with Cincinnati?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're very valuable. It's a Walt played here. He's got a lot of sweat equity in this program to help build this program to where it is right now. It was, for me to be able to keep him on our staff has been outstanding. Of course, Kerry, what he brings, his experience. He's been at the highest level in college football. He's been in the NFL, and he's been a championship high school coach, and right here in this city. I mean, so to be able to have him has been awesome. To bounce ideas off of. Just to talk about the history here. Coming in new, you're learning something all the time, and have those two guys to be able to talk about and tell stories about things that have happened in the past and where we are right now compared to where we were, and really having those guys, on a daily basis has been very valuable for me and really the rest of our staff too, to be able to talk to those guys about, things that have happened here.
Do you match Kerry's energy every day, or is that not possible?
Yeah, I mean, you got to work really hard, and man, that sucker, he wakes up and drink coffee right off the bat. He goes and works out in the weight room with coffee in his hands. I mean, he's a lot of caffeine he's using. I don't use that much caffeine, but he does have a lot of energy. I love it. It's infectious. The rest of the staff sees that, and he brings it every day. And the thing I love about Coach Combs is his consistency. He is who he is. I mean, he will get after your butt if you need it. He'll love up on you. Everything he does is like that. It's fun to see. It's fun to watch.
You spoke a little bit about the leaders on the defensive line. Every successful college team and the head coach, it seems like the head coach has some of their guys who are leaders in the locker room who they know they can rely on. Obviously not at higher ground yet, but do you have some of your guys already who have your back in that locker room? If so, who are they?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think our D-lines are the big time leaders on this team. Corleone and Briggs are two that really stand out to me the most. I mean, they were when I first got here in December, they were some of the first two guys to walk in my office and introduce themselves. And then they came back the next day. And then the next day, it just kept coming back. Corleone would come in. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm just hanging out." He just sit in my office. I mean, just hanging out. So this was back when December, he was injured. And so he really couldn't do a whole lot. He'd come from treatment and just come sitting there and hang out, which I love. I love our guys when they come and want to hang out, want to come in our offices and want to come to our, defensive staff and offensive staff room. Just sit in there and let's watch some tape, and I think that's extremely important. But those two guys really come to mind, I think, more than anybody. I think, even though they're new, they understand how we've operated. Dorian Jones and Luke Candry, two guys, that came over right away from Louisville that know how we do things. And so they were very valuable to kind of spread the message in the locker room of kind of here's what coach likes, here's how we do things. I think that was extremely valuable. And they're both good players. They're going to bring a lot to our team. And then there's so many new guys on offense, and so one thing that I appreciate about the guys that we've brought in here, I think 23 transfers type guys, a lot, is the fact that none of these guys came in like right day one and just started trying to be the man or the leader, that kind of thing. That takes time. You have to earn that respect. So I really appreciated how the guys have come in and approached. They just come in to work and put the cleats on. Let's go to work. And, Emory kind of comes to mind with that. He didn't come in here, the guys played a lot of ball. He just came in here and started working. And, Wiggins come in here and start working. I mean, I just appreciate how they've approached that. And now over the time, Buford's another guy, the offensive tackle that came in from Kentucky. He's starting to open up, a little bit more vocal. I mean, they earn that over time. And I think that's another thing that's going to be critical over the next 2 weeks out at, higher ground is that those leaders start to emerge vocally. A lot of guys have been doing it by example, but now vocally really, spreading that, and I think there'll be some more guys that'll step up and become great leaders for us during August.
Justin, final question.
Similar to leadership culture, how do you feel like that's gone in terms of you implementing the culture you want to have, and how important is that to what you then see on the field, whether in practice or once the season starts?
I mean, I think we're getting there. I think, culture is built on what you do every day. It's not a one thing, you can't just put a sign up on the wall and say that's gonna be our culture. I think you have to live it. I think there's certain standards that we want our program to be about, and again, that's something you work on every day. I think a lot of that comes from Coach Nico and his staff in the weight room. They've been with the guys all summer long. Coaches, we've been around, but not as much as they have. And the thing that he's implemented in there is consistency and showing up and working their butts off, because it takes zero talent to show up on time, to work hard, to have a great attitude, and to be mentally tough. That's what we've been trying to implement and put in these guys' head. Now, are we doing it perfect every day? No, but we're working towards that. I like where our guys' heads are at right now, but it's a work in progress. I mean, it is something that we work on every day. We'll continue to work on it, because at the end of the season, when we look back on our season, whenever that is, at the end of the year, we'll look back and we'll be able to say, what kind of team was that? Were they mentally tough? Did they work their butts off and play as hard as they can possibly play, no matter what the score was, and give everything they have for their teammates? Those are the things we want to be able to say yes at the end of the season. Now, your time will tell. That's the thing we're going to be working on every single day. So it all starts when we start camp, and putting that in there. So we're excited about it, and can't wait to get going, and see what this team's going to be all about. And obviously throughout camp we'll be giving updates and kind of where we are with things. I do know this, a month from tomorrow we play our first game. It's going to be very, very fast, and so we got to have a sense of urgency every day. Meetings, practice, walkthroughs, a sense of urgency every single day, because when you get to the game, you don't want to say, "Oh, now it's too late." We got to have it now, and that's going to be what we're going to do when we start practice tomorrow.
Thank you,
All right,
Coach.
thanks, guys.